events unravelling and many of us once again rethinking how we can reapproach our new normal. Today we'll be diving into things you should know about our changed new world. I'm Colin Day, Managing Director of EMEA, and you're listening to Octopost's original discussion series. Welcome to this original podcast series brought to you by Octopost. My name's Colin Day and I'm the Managing Director for EMEA and Asia Pacific here at Octopost. Today, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our friend and guest to this podcast, Amy Kenigsberg, co-founder and COO at K2 Global Communications. K2 is a boutique inbound and content marketing, social media and public relations firm focused on what's in it for me communications. And I guess we'll get into that in a little while. So what's in it for me communications? Delivering client messages to key audiences, looking to increase website traffic, marketing qualified leads, and obviously ultimately sales qualified leads. K2's customers cover an expanse of industries from telcos or telecoms to security to cloud and application development firms. Amy, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Amy, I just wonder whether you could provide our audience a little bit of an insight into your career and K2 Communications.
Sure. I started in journalism, working at magazines, trade journals, general interest publications, switched to marketing for trade press, and then internal communications and public relations. My husband and I started K2 Global Communications about 15 years ago. And our focus has been...
That was him telling you it was 15 years ago, right?
Yes, exactly. Our focus has been mainly on technology, high technology, low technology, manufacturing, helping clients define their target audiences and determine the exact messages that those audiences need to know about their technologies or solutions beyond just, our widget does this, our widget does that. It's more what's in it for the end user, who's going to benefit from the technology, and then everyone in the buying chain, which is now, of course, called ABM marketing. But, the CEO, what they need to know, the CTO, the head of production, the database administrator, everyone needs to know different things about the exact same solution because it benefits everyone differently.
Gotcha. So K2, as you said, has been in existence for 15 plus years, right? And hey, a heck of a lot has changed in the field of marketing over that time period, right? But before we get there, why K2? Where did the name come from, and why did you set up the agency with your husband? Not with your husband. It's like it's like, why did you set up, the agency, you and your husband?
Basically, we saw the opportunity to help smaller technology startups get their messages out. A lot of the bigger agencies charge much bigger budgets, and we saw that not everyone can afford, $15,000 a month. And so there was a niche of companies that needed help, but just couldn't afford to go with the bigger players. So we stepped in as a smaller agency, and K2 is either the mountain range or Kenigsberg and Kenigsberg, or after the K1 fighting. Basically, it's taking on challenges, climbing the mountain, succeeding.
Gotcha. Amy, so but you mentioned earlier on, it's like that pedigree that you've got with inside marketing, right? You've been in and around the marketing world for near on 30 years, right? So it's safe to say that
you can make me sound a little younger.
How young do you want to be? You've been in and around the marketing world for 30 days, 20 years. Okay, hey, I did the maths, right? I did the maths. And it's all out there for public record. Go and look at your LinkedIn profile.
Yes, but, I know.
Hey, let's be nice to our guests, right? You've been in and around the marketing world for a while.
Yes.
Okay. So it's safe to say that you're a career marketer, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you've worked for some great firms, right? It's like GE Insurance Solutions, US Central Credit Union, Rudafin, but to mention a few. Plus, you've also got the wealth of knowledge and experience of working with your existing client base over at K2 on various projects, right? So with the firms that you've worked with, how how do you coach them to measure success? What constitutes success from a marketing perspective?
Ultimately, success is the bottom line. It's, where is marketing taking you? Are you getting enough leads to fill the funnel? On the traditional PR side, I love this. PR has had trade associations for almost 100 years. And for that time, they've been trying to put a dollar value on the ROI of PR. With the advent of inbound marketing technology and SEO and pay-per-click, it's become much easier to track ROI on marketing efforts, but people need to find a balance between the numbers and the reputation. You can't just expect the numbers to come without people having heard of you. One of the things my partner Larry likes to tell our clients, you may have the greatest technology in the world, but if nobody's heard of you, what's the point? So it's really a matter of finding a balance between building your reputation, getting your messages out there, getting you in front of the target audiences, and making sure they're aware of you. So when they're ready to get into the funnel, they know who you are and they can start connecting with you online.
Gotcha. We'll come into it a little bit later on, right? But if you look at the modern day marketing function, it's broken into various areas, right? It's like and no one's a jack of all trades or jack of all trades. You master of none, right? It's like typically it's a focused discipline. How do you coach the brand marketer, right? Someone that's responsible for brand, right, and that brand reputation, or someone that's responsible for corporate comms, right? And then you've got the funnel, as you so eloquently talk about, right, and demand generation. They're three very different things. How do you make sure you get the interlock, across all three of those functions, plus others, right? There's others involved in that marketing mix, but how do you ensure you get that interlock?
The very first thing we require of every single client is messaging. We refuse to do any sort of project, retainer, relationship until they sit down, they figure out who they are, who their audiences are, what their customers need to hear, and who within the chain needs to hear it. It all starts with messaging. What we found sometimes is we've gone in to the CEO and the CEO is saying one thing about the company. The sales team is saying something completely different. Then the tech support people are telling the clients something that neither the CEO or the sales team is aware of. So we try to make sure, because of my experience in both internal communications and external communications, is really understanding and communicating to our clients how critical it is that everybody within the entire organization needs to be on the exact same page, the same messages, the same benefits of the technology, the same features, and the same needs for the audiences. Once messaging is clear, then really it's a matter of channels. How are the messages being communicated? Is it being communicated through contributed content in the trade journals? Is it being communicated through an article in a major publication? Is it being communicated through a blog? Is it being communicated by, hello, you've reached the tech support line. We're here to help you with this, this, and this. It all is a matter of what are the key messages and what do the potential audiences need to hear. And then it's a matter of this channel needs to deliver it this way, this channel delivers it this way, and here's delivery for the third. It's really getting everybody on the same page before anybody talks to anybody else about anything.
Gotcha. So put your mind in the or put yourself in the shoes of the CMOs that you work with, right? So the chief marketing officers. What metrics should appear on the chief marketing officer's dashboard? What metrics should they be concerned with these days?
Number one, website traffic. Everything, due to the situation, everything is now online. So you need to make sure you're first getting people to the site. And the way you're doing that is through PR, brand awareness, potentially paid advertising, PPC, social media, and employee engagement. You need to get everybody on board with getting your messages out there and then seeing how things come back. You know, I don't really want to say this, but, you know, throwing it out there and seeing what sticks. And checking the metrics of what works. So check your web metrics, check your employee engagement with their social, see which kinds of social posts are getting you the best results. When we advise clients on their social media, we always say it should be, you know, Pareto, 20-80. 20% promotional, 80% of positioning you as the thought leader, so people will start subscribing to your channels. So for example, if you're in the automotive space or the cybersecurity space, there are tons of publications writing about what's important to you as a company, but not necessarily mentioning you in every article. So as long as they're not mentioning a competitor, if they're positioning your messages to the general marketplace, you need to repost those, you need to share those so people understand that you are not necessarily a content provider, but a content aggregator to get people to start generating traffic for your site, getting people out there. Then once they're on the site, you know, what's the path that they're taking? Which are the most efficient pages? Which blogs are getting read the most? Which materials are getting downloaded? How many people are registering for your webinars? You know, it's got to start bigger and then go down.
And then one would assume that you know, if one thing needs to be on the CMO's dashboard, it needs to be those conversion metrics, right?
Exactly.
Like you talked earlier on about like you know, the sales funnel and conversions into the funnel. Right? One would assume that you know, in this day and age, if the CMO isn't it doesn't have line of sight, yeah, of how their marketing activities are impacting sales, then they're missing the trick, right?
Oh no, of course. You need the conversion metrics, you need the cost per lead. You know, you need to balance your organic versus your paid. You know, you need to figure out, okay, where should I be investing? You know, once you have the metrics of which materials are bringing the most audiences, then they need to determine, okay, what budget can I allocate to do more of the same?
Gotcha. Hold that thought on budget, because I've got a question for you about that, like later on as well. But so how can the CMO and the marketing team demonstrate value to the organizations? Like, because I know, you know, if you think about that budget, right, the first thing that comes under attack whenever there's any kind of pressure, yeah, is always the marketing budget, right? And in my mind and in my experience, a lot of that's come down to the fact that as marketers, we're not very good, yeah, at being able to defend that budget and what we do with it and the impact that we're having. So how can, you know, what's your advice to you know, CMOs that are listening or to marketers that are listening on how to go about demonstrating that value?
Okay, so that's where you need to start really tracking the marketing qualified leads to becoming sales qualified leads, because you need to demonstrate to the sales team, we are filling your funnel. Instead of being adversaries, a lot of times it's marketing versus sales. Marketing and sales need to work together much more closely in a cycle. You know, we're bringing you these kinds of leads. Do these leads work for you? Will these leads generate business for the company? No? Okay. What is your ideal customer? And they need to check. The salespeople are talking to the customers, especially now that trade shows are over, much more than the marketing team. So it's a matter of collaboration and communication, going to the sales team and saying, this is what we envision as the ideal customer. Check us out. What are the checks and balances? And really, go to management and say, this is what the sales team has asked us to focus on. So this is what we're doing to generate the highest value leads to the sales team.
Gotcha. So look, so many marketers, even in this day and age, right, still focus on vanity metrics, if I can get my words out. What would your advice be to those folks that are, still looking at just, clicks and open rates of emails, etc.? So like, what would your advice be to those people, so like, that are using that as the yardstick to measure success against?
I would actually have to say, be a detective. Follow up. You may say, okay, we got a 10% open rate. Look at who those 10% people are. Cross-check them with the sales team. Are these the people that you're trying to target? Especially a lot of companies are going to account-based marketing. Go into LinkedIn. These are the 10 people, the 100 people who opened our email. Are these the right people? Fact check yourself with your metrics before you start to report them. Nothing really is vanity metrics if it gives you valuable information that you can then translate into action toward helping the sales team generate leads.
So it's all about sales, right? I mean, to me, selling's a team sport, and an important part of that team is obviously the marketing function. But it's one of a number of people, players, actors, whatever you want to call them, that you bring to the game in order to create success, right? Look, the theme of the podcast is things you should know about our changed new world. So with that in mind, how are you seeing the marketing mix and the marketing strategy evolve as we go through and come out the other end of this global pandemic?
I don't think there are that many changes. I think things are being more fine-tuned. So for example, on the PR side, about when, this is quite a while ago, but when the internet started, the trade journals.
That long ago. That wasn't that long. I remember that as well.
For example, the trade journals that used to be on paper and survived by advertising and had, 10, 15 people at a publication. With the advent of electronic media, those 10 or 15 people became 3. We're seeing a similar shakeup now in traditional news sources. Newspapers, we've been talking about the death of newspapers for generations. That's getting closer and closer. But what this pandemic has done, because it has killed so many local businesses, the larger media press is going through a similar thing as the trade press years ago. So staffs are getting much smaller. Things need to be more highly targeted. The publications that are starting to be more successful are very niche focused publications. So most B2B marketing is niche focused. So this is going to create more opportunities for reaching the right people the right way. Also, account-based marketing is something we've been promoting for years before it was called account-based marketing. And it's really, who are the big players in your industry? If you sign 2 deals with the top 10 versus 200 deals with the lower 1,000, where are you putting your resources? I think that's really is what's changed recently, is being much more targeted with the resources that you have, because so many budgets have been cut. But also it's an opportunity in that budgets have been cut, but you're no longer spending $50,000 a year to go to a trade show. So
That's more
people
a
are getting,
reallocation, right? It's more a reallocation
exactly,
of budget.
exactly. So people are getting to experiment more, things they may not have tried. We've seen clients up their PPC budgets because now instead of paying for 10 plane tickets, they can pay for another 100 advertising. You can do more experimentation. That's another thing that's really been allowed by the times right now and the technology is because of the inbound marketing software. You can now really track where every dollar is going. So you're getting to say, let's try this or let's try that. It's this time, while it's horrific on many, many levels, it's allowing marketers to actually be more creative with determining which channels will deliver the biggest bang.
And what are you seeing with regards to paid versus organic from from a social perspective? Are you seeing it's like one outweigh the other, or is it an equilibrium?
I think it's an equilibrium because what the traditional use of advertising is to tell people your name. So they may not click on the ad, and if they're not a qualified lead at the point, you don't want them to click on the ad anyway, but you want them to see the name. Then the organic gives the opportunity to reinforce those messages like paid social media, organic social media, paid advertising, paid content versus organic content. One of the big models right now in public relations and marketing is the peso model. I want to say it's Ginny Dietrich's, and it's paid, earned, social, and organic. Owned, sorry. Paid, earned, social, and organic. And that's where things are. Paid, are you paying for an advertisement? Are you paying to have content in there? Earned, traditional PR, getting journalists to write about you. Social, getting you out there on the social networks. Or owned, what publications do you own? A lot of marketing now is what a lot of companies don't realize now is they're also content providers. People are getting used to going to the company that they're working with to see what's happening in the industry.
Yep.
For example, in cybersecurity, Threat Post, I believe, is owned by Kaspersky. Whereas people know, okay, that's an objective source owned by one of the suppliers, but it's in the old days, it was called the Chinese Wall for the Great Wall of China.
Yep.
Between advertising and editorial. So it's very similar as people are expecting more information that's objective from the companies in the industry.
Gotcha. So look, you mentioned social on several occasions, right? What role do you see social media playing in the modern day marketing mix?
Social media is critical because everybody's online, everybody's on LinkedIn, everybody's on Facebook, everyone's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. It's really a matter of those are the ways people are getting their information these days. So it's a matter of what channels are delivering to your audience. You know, if you're selling a widget to teenagers, don't spend any time on LinkedIn.
Yep, do it all on TikTok. I know where my kids are.
You be, having your employees post videos on TikTok. You need to be creating TikTok videos. There are already TikTok agencies that will create the videos for you. Social media is another channel, but it's a targeted channel. Getting involved, on LinkedIn in the specific groups where your customers are participating in. Be a resource, answer questions, participate in the conversation. And that's where social media is. Don't just throw things out there. It's, okay, we're doing this. Our clients have faced these challenges. These are general ways to address these challenges. And then, this is the way our technology can address the challenges.
Yep. Well, to me, technology is just the enabler, right? It's not the be
Exactly.
all to end all, right? It's like, it comes up with, you've got to have the business strategy and you've got to have the content in order to, fuel the process anyway, right? So, it then just, as you said earlier on, it becomes what channels do I want to put that material out through? And then what technologies can I use in order to empower me to do it at scale?
Exactly.
So look, you work across various functions, right? In marketing with inside your customer base, communications, marketing operations, marketing technology, product marketing, the leadership of marketing. How do you ensure though that you're able to bring sales to that party? Because as I say, the whole purpose of marketing, right, is to ensure shareholder value, right, or increase shareholder value, whoever those shareholders may be, right? And the way that you do that, right, is to increase demand for the products and services that the organization has to sell, right, and empowering those sellers to do it. So how do you coach your clients to ensure that they're bringing sales to that party?
Okay, so it's as I discussed before, working with the sales team to make sure that everybody's on the same page of who you're trying to recruit as a customer and that your efforts are targeting those customers. We say to a client, we're not going to come to you and say, oh, you haven't had a press release this month, let's write a press release. It's what are the business goals for this quarter? What marketing activities can we support that are going to bring marketing qualified leads and sales qualified leads into the funnel or deeper into the funnel? It's really getting focused on the people you're trying to reach. And then again, the channels.
Gotcha. So, Amy, let's have a little bit of fun. Not that this hasn't been fun, but let's have a little bit of fun. Tell us something about you, Amy, that we couldn't find on your LinkedIn or Twitter profiles.
Wow. Okay. Let's see. I'm a ham. I used to be in theater groups.
Wow.
I played Dorothy Gale, and I played Chelsea Clinton.
Wow.
In a variety show with the Austin Society of Professional Journalists when I was on the magazine side of things. Let's see what else.
So what you're going to tell me is the curtain behind you. It's like would normally it's like open this way,
Yes,
right, rather than just draw. Yeah.
exactly. What else? Let's see. I am an avid reader. There are always 3 or 4 books going at any one time.
What's the favorite read at the moment? What's keeping you glued to the pages?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember. I've got one book downstairs, one book on my nightstand, and one in my purse.
That's a lot of books.
The one I'm reading that's been interesting, it's either called The Accursed or The Accused. It's a translation of a French book that's nonfiction about a man who did something horrific to his family, and it's an understanding of what it is. The nightstand book is what would have happened if England had capitulated to Hitler in 1940 and what happened to England after the fact. So that's been interesting. I can't remember the title of that.
That's like Man in the High Tower, right? It's like that TV program. Yeah.
Something similar. I've read some really fantastic books lately. Actually, I will give a plug to an amazing author who hasn't written a lot lately, but there's a guy named Tracy Kidder who writes nonfiction, but he's a storyteller. So you really understand what goes on in the head of all the different people who are involved in the story.
And that's what our job as marketers is all about, right? Telling that story. So, Amy, thank you. So, Amy, look, our time's drawing to an end, right? It's been a real pleasure to have you on the podcast this morning. But before you go, Yeah, where can people find out more information about K2 and indeed yourself, whether that be on social or on the web? Where can people go to get that information and insight?
Okay, so simply our website, www.k2-gc.com. It's Amy Kenigsberg, Kenigsberg. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And
And there you are.
generally, give me a holler and we're here to help. If you've got those.
Amy, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Amy Kenigsberg, co-founder of K2. Thank you for being on the episode.
Thank you very much. And I also want to give a plug to Octopost. I was actually an early adopter of Octopost when they first launched. They're doing some really cool things and you really should check them out also if you're not already a customer.
Thank you, Amy. And I didn't even ask you for that one. It's like
no, you didn't. It just Octopost. When you guys first started, I was like, this is perfect. This is ideal for what we need. And yeah, I think I started using you guys 2014, 2015.
Gotcha. That's about the same. I was just a little bit before that. So I was a client at a company called SunGuard over in the United States. And then I also took the product to a company called FIS.
So maybe it was 2013 because it was when they were still a tiny little startup in a tiny little booth, just saying, "Hey, we just started."
The back of the baker's shop. There's a story for you.
Exactly.
Amy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.